The temperature dropped when Rita stepped into old money territory, the Blackwood Estate's library with its leather-bound books and aristocratic ghosts. Her $20 department store dress screamed outsider among designer suits and pearls. They didn't even offer her a seat. "And who exactly invited the help?" someone whispered, loud enough to sting. But when the lawyer's eyes locked on Rita, nobody knew the truth. She wasn't the help. She was the heir. The Blackwood mansion loomed like a fortress, 3 stories of old Virginia brick and generational wealth. The library where the reading would happen was all mahogany shelves and hunter green walls, leather chairs occupied by people who'd never known hunger. Rita stood in the corner, 25, her dark curls framing a face too pretty to be taken seriously. Her dress was clean but not expensive, her only jewelry a simple necklace tucked beneath her collar. Her hands were rough from real work, but her eyes held a quiet intelligence that the others missed entirely. She'd prepared for today for months, psyching herself up just to walk through those doors. Conrad Blackwood Jr. lounged in what had been his father's chair, his Rolex catching light as he scrolled through his phone. At 45, his hairline was retreating, but his confidence wasn't. Victoria Blackwood perched beside him, 42, draped in black Chanel, her diamond earrings worth more than Rita's car. She dabbed at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Aunt Josephine, 70, Conrad Sr.'s sister, gripped her cane with bony fingers, her lips permanently pursed in disapproval. Marcus Chen, the family attorney, stood at the desk, folders organized before him, his expression unreadable behind wire-rimmed glasses. Rita handed him her ID. He nodded, barely glancing at it. Conrad Jr. looked up, finally noticing her. "The cleaning staff can come back later." "She's not cleaning staff," Marcus said, voice neutral. "She's here for the reading." Conrad Jr. barked a laugh. "Dad's charity cases follow him even to the grave. What are you, the maid's daughter? Did he leave you a month's salary?" Rita remained standing, chin up. "I knew Conrad. I'm here because he asked me to be." Victoria's eyes narrowed like a cat spotting prey. "Knew him how exactly? I'm sure my father-in-law had many acquaintances." The insinuation hung in the air, sharp as a blade. "I worked with him," Rita said simply. Josephine scoffed. "Worked? With Conrad? Doing what? Shining his shoes?" Rita's voice stayed steady. "On his memoir project." "What memoir?" Conrad Jr. snapped. "Dad never mentioned any memoir." Victoria released a theatrical laugh. "Oh, honey, look at her. She's clearly confused. Or lying." Marcus cleared his throat. "Miss Vega is on the list. That's all that matters for now." Conrad Jr. stood, puffing up. "I've been running Dad's business for a decade. I know every project, every deal." "Clearly not," Josephine muttered, her first jab at her nephew. "I was with Conrad for the last 6 months," Rita said. 4 days a week. Victoria's manicured nails drummed the armrest. "As what? His nurse? His charity project? His—" "That's enough," Marcus interrupted. "We should begin." "Not until someone explains why this—" Conrad gestured at Rita like she was something stuck to his shoe. "Is standing in my father's library." The family watched Rita like wolves, waiting for her to crack. She didn't. "If she stays, I want proof she belongs," Victoria demanded. "Show us something, girl. A contract? Employment papers?" Rita reached into her modest purse, pulled out a small leather notebook. "Conrad gave me this." Conrad Jr. snatched it, flipped through pages covered in an old man's handwriting. Anyone could have stolen this. He tossed it across the room. Pages scattered, a piece of Conrad Sr.'s thoughts littering the floor. Rita knelt to gather them, her movements calm despite the humiliation. Victoria's heel came down on one page, pinning it. "Oops," she smiled, grinding it into the carpet. Marcus watched, saying nothing. His silence felt like permission. "Quiz time," Conrad Jr. announced. "If you knew Dad so well, what was his favorite drink?" Rita looked up. "Macallan 18, neat, with water on the side." Josephine tilted her head, surprised. "Lucky guess," Conrad Jr. dismissed. "His favorite place?" "The boathouse at dawn," Rita answered. "He said the light there reminded him of being young." Victoria's smile faltered. Conrad Sr. had built that boathouse when his wife was still alive. "What did he call his first sailboat?" Conrad Jr. demanded, voice rising. "Mary Ann, after his mother." Conrad Jr.'s face flushed red. "You've done your homework, I'll give you that." But you don't belong here. He nodded to the security guard by the door. Remove her. The guard stepped forward, hand on Rita's arm. Her notebook pages crumpled under his grip. Stop. Marcus finally spoke. The reading begins now, with everyone present. Those were Conrad's explicit instructions. The guard's hand lingered on Rita's arm, uncertain. Conrad Jr. glared at Marcus. Since when do you make decisions about my family's affairs? Since your father paid me to execute his will exactly as written, Marcus replied, pushing his glasses up. Miss Vega stays. The guard retreated. Rita remained standing, her notebook clutched to her chest. Fine, Conrad Jr. spat. Let's get this over with. Marcus opened the main folder. Before I begin, Conrad requested a video be played. He pressed a remote. A screen descended from the ceiling, and Conrad Blackwood Sr.'s face appeared, stern, weathered, with eyes that missed nothing. If you're watching this, I'm gone, the recording began. Good. Means I don't have to witness the vultures circling anymore. Victoria gasped theatrically. Josephine smirked. Conrad Jr., the old man continued, you've been running my company into the ground for years, thinking I didn't notice. Victoria, you've been redecorating the house with money from accounts you thought I didn't monitor. Josephine, you've been waiting for me to die since you were 40. The room froze in shocked silence. The only person who's shown me genuine respect and interest in my final months has been Rita Vega. All eyes turned to her. A nobody, Conrad Jr. muttered, but his confidence was cracking. The video continued. She approached me about ghostwriting my memoir, but she became much more. A friend, someone who listened, someone who cared about the man, not the money. Rita's eyes remained on the screen, ignoring the burning stares around her. I've made changes to my will, Conrad Sr. announced. Significant ones. Victoria grabbed her husband's arm, nails digging in. But first, the old man said, I want my family to know exactly who they're sharing this room with. The screen changed to show Rita and Conrad Sr. in the garden, her reading to him. Another clip, teaching him to use an iPad, then laughing together as they sorted old photographs. Touching, Victoria sneered, but her voice trembled. He was obviously senile. Conrad Jr. lunged forward, jabbing a finger at Rita. What did you do? Manipulate a dying old man? She showed up. Conrad Sr.'s voice continued as the video returned to him. Day after day, no agenda, just kindness. She's a con artist, Conrad Jr. shouted at the screen. Marcus paused the video. There's more, but perhaps we should move directly to the will. No, Rita spoke up, surprising everyone. I want them to hear it all. Marcus nodded, resumed the video. I've lived 92 years, Conrad Sr. said. Built an empire, raised a disappointing son, but in my final chapter, only one person saw me as human. The video ended. The screen went black. Conrad Jr. was shaking now, fear replacing arrogance. This is a joke. It has to be. Rita Vega, Marcus read from the document, is to receive... Victoria stood abruptly. She seduced him, an old man with dementia. Will contest everything. Marcus removed his glasses. Conrad was evaluated by 3 separate physicians the day he made these changes. He was of sound mind. I witnessed it personally. Conrad Jr. grabbed Rita's arm, yanking her close. What did you do to him? What did you whisper in his ear? Security stepped forward again, this time pulling Conrad Jr. back. Rita rubbed her arm where his fingers had dug in. Still, she didn't break. The will, Marcus continued, louder now. Rita Vega is to receive... Get her out! Conrad Jr. roared, lunging again. The guard restrained him as Josephine watched, almost amused. Shall I continue? Marcus asked Rita. Or would you prefer to leave? Rita's voice was soft but clear. I'm staying. The grandfather clock in the corner struck noon, its chimes cutting through the tension. Outside, rain began to fall, pattering against the library's windows. Conrad Jr. had been forced into his seat, his knuckles white on the armrests. Victoria's perfect makeup was streaked with genuine tears now. Josephine leaned forward, suddenly interested. Rita Vega, Marcus read again, is to receive 51% ownership of Blackwood Industries, the main residence at 1142 Harbor Drive, and controlling interest in all Blackwood family holdings. The room exploded. Impossible! Conrad Jr. roared. This is fraud! Victoria screamed, flinging her handkerchief to the floor. Josephine cackled, slapping her cane against the floor. Conrad, you magnificent bastard! Marcus continued, voice rising above the chaos. Conrad Jr. and Victoria will retain their current salaries and positions, contingent upon quarterly performance reviews conducted by Ms. Vega. Victoria collapsed back into her chair, hand over her heart. This can't be happening. Josephine will continue to receive her annual allowance, increased by 10%, as requested. The old woman nodded approvingly at Rita. And finally, Marcus said, removing a sealed envelope from the folder, this letter is to be read aloud in this room before all parties. He broke the seal and began to read Conrad Sr.'s final words. To my family, I wasn't blind. I saw everything. I saw the board meetings Conrad Jr. scheduled when he thought I was too ill to attend, Marcus read. I saw the votes to push me out. I saw the parties you threw in my homes while I was in treatment. I heard your countdown to my death. Conrad Jr.'s face drained of color. Victoria whispered, he couldn't have known. But most importantly, Marcus continued, I saw Rita Vega walk into my hospital room 6 months ago with a business proposal and no idea who I was. Rita stood still as the story unfolded. She saw my hospital gown, not my name, pitched me on ghostwriting my memoir as practice for her portfolio. When I told her I wasn't just some random old man, that I was Conrad Blackwood, she laughed and said, should that mean something to me? Josephine snorted in amusement. For the first time in decades, someone looked at me and saw a person, not a fortune. She visited when you couldn't be bothered. She brought me books, not business papers. She listened to stories you'd heard too many times to care. She earned what you expected as birthright. Conrad Jr. slumped, deflated. Victoria wiped real tears now. Conrad Jr., you call yourself my successor but spent more time planning my funeral than learning from my life. Victoria, you redecorated my house 8 times but never asked about the photos on my walls. Josephine, you at least were honest about your greed. Marcus paused, letting the words sink in. Rita didn't know I was changing my will. She didn't ask for a penny. When she learns of this decision, she'll likely try to refuse it. All eyes turned to Rita, whose shock confirmed the truth. But I've watched her work, seen her intelligence, her integrity. I've made billions from judging character correctly, and I'm making one final investment. Rita Vega will do more with the Blackwood legacy than my bloodline ever could. The letter concluded. It's not about deserving Conrad Jr. It's about becoming worthy. Rita already is. Maybe someday you will be too. Marcus folded the letter and placed it on the desk. The silence stretched, broken only by Victoria's quiet sobs. This is a mistake, Conrad Jr. finally said, his voice hollow. Father was manipulated. No, Josephine spoke up, surprising everyone. Conrad was cruel but never stupid. If he chose her, he had reasons. She turned to Rita. You really didn't know? Rita shook her head, finding her voice. I thought maybe he'd leave me a book, a memento. Instead, he left you everything, Marcus confirmed. Effective immediately. Conrad Jr. stood, pointing a trembling finger at Rita. We'll fight this. Every word, every penny. Marcus slid another document forward. Conrad anticipated that. Fighting the will triggers this clause. All parties contesting lose everything immediately, even the salaries he generously preserved. Victoria grabbed her husband's arm. Conrad, stop. We can't risk it. In that moment, the power shifted like gravity itself had changed direction. Rita Vega, in her simple dress, became the richest person in the room. 3 weeks later, Blackwood Industries headquarters buzzed with tension. Employees whispered about the new boss, the mystery woman who'd appeared from nowhere. Conrad Jr.'s corner office had been emptied, its contents moved to a smaller space down the hall. His parking spot, closest to the entrance, now had a new name, Rita Vega, CEO. Victoria had stopped coming to the building altogether, her security access quietly revoked after she'd been caught removing artwork from the walls. Rita stepped out of the elevator, no designer suit, just a modest black dress and the same simple necklace. But she walked differently now, confident, assured. Her first board meeting was starting in 10 minutes. Conrad Jr. watched from his new office, door cracked open. This is temporary, he muttered to his assistant. She'll crash and burn within months. But the quarterly reports on his desk told a different story. Stock up 12% since the announcement. 3 stalled projects suddenly moving forward. Employee satisfaction climbing for the first time in years. Rita paused at her office, Conrad Sr.'s old space, untouched except for one wall now covered with photographs of employees and their families. Conrad Jr. appeared behind her. Playing the people's champion? They'll see through it. Rita turned, calm. I'm not playing anything, Conrad. Why didn't you fire me? He demanded. It would have been easier. Because your father believed you could learn. She handed him a folder. Board meeting. I expect you to be prepared. He took it, surprising them both. I still hate you, he said, but without the venom. I know, Rita replied, but you'll work with me anyway. 1 year later, autumn leaves scattered across Conrad Sr.'s grave. Rita placed fresh flowers beside the headstone, adjusted her scarf against the chill. You sneaky old man, she said to the granite marker. You could have warned me. Behind her, footsteps crunched on gravel. Conrad Jr. approached, looking older, but somehow lighter. He nodded to Rita, placed his own flowers. He would have enjoyed this, Conrad Jr. said finally. The chaos you created, the company growing, me, learning. Rita smiled slightly. He was playing chess while we were playing checkers. I thought you stole my birthright, Conrad Jr. admitted. Now I realize I never earned it in the first place. They stood in silence, the wind rustling through the cemetery. Victoria left, he said eventually. Said she married a Blackwood fortune, not a Blackwood employee. I heard. I'm sorry. Conrad Jr. shrugged. Don't be. Dad was right about her too. In the distance, a sleek car pulled up. Josephine's driver helped her out. The board meeting yesterday, Conrad Jr. said. Your expansion plan, it was good. Better than anything I would have done. High praise from a Blackwood, Rita said. Don't get used to it. But there was the ghost of a smile on his face as he walked away, nodding to his aunt as they passed. Josephine hobbled up, eyeing the flowers. He's less of an ass these days. Progress, Rita agreed. Conrad would be pleased, Josephine said, then chuckled, though he'd never admit it. Rita fingered the necklace at her throat, finally opened the locket she always wore. Inside was a tiny photo of her mother in a Blackwood Manor maid's uniform, holding infant Rita. Some legacies are complicated, Rita said quietly. Josephine nodded, understanding everything. The best ones always are, my dear.